Welcome back to the 108 Flow podcast. This week we've got Mariesa on. She's an energy healer. We've known each other a couple of years now, haven't we?
Yeah, it's gone fast.
So I'd just like to touch on, how did you fall into being an energy healer and what got you interested in it?
From birth, and I mean that. So what happened to me is, as a child, I suffered with really bad anxiety about being on my own. So I slept on my mum and dad's floor till I was 17 years old because I just didn't understand what I was feeling.
Yeah.
I could feel electric behind me. I could hear things being said. I felt like there were presence in my room a lot. But when you're little, everything's just a ghost, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I was absolutely terrified. And my mum and dad didn't know how to deal with it. So they'd just do the usual, putting a lock on the door, locking me out of the door, which didn't help at all.
Sent you a bit more worse.
Yeah, so I think from being born, I was just super, super sensitive to energy.
Yeah.
And now I understand energy, I'm not scared anymore because I get what I'm feeling. So back then we didn't, it wasn't Wi-Fi, it was like radio waves. And I know now I could feel radio waves. Sometimes I was tuning in to them stations and I could hear conversations.
Wow.
And that's how it began then, because then that led me to, wanting to deal with this. What is this? What is this anxious feeling?
Trying to make sense of it.
Yeah. And also watching my brother, who was the same, but he was 6 years older than me, and he had a massive awakening too fast. Nobody knew how to deal with it, especially here in the West.
Yeah.
I now know that his lower chakras were completely out of balance to his third eye. His third eye went boom at the age of 18. I think I was about 12. He's 6 years older than me.
Yeah.
And he got sectioned.
Yeah, well, that's what I see now, is a lot of things that are going on. Is if it were 20 years ago, you would have been getting sectioned, because I think it's only because it's a mass consciousness that's happening at the moment, and it's so frequent. People are starting to take note.
Well, this is it. And he was sectioned over and over, medicated, dumbed down, and I just thought, because of my anxious feelings and knowing that I could hear voices and I was sensing all these things, I just thought there has to be another way. But I only discovered that other way when I got to 28, which is your Saturn return.
Oh, quality.
And it all fell into place. And I just thought I'd held it all together, and it were awful. So I had my children at 24. Again, my anxiety was through the roof. It was 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But trying to be strong and pulling it together, not telling anyone how I'm feeling, didn't speak to anyone about it because I didn't want to be sectioned.
Yeah, I bet it made you go inside yourself a lot more when you'd seen that happen with your brother as well.
It did.
And how did your family members respond to that?
What, to my brother?
Yeah.
It was kind of like they didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
So there was no
handbook for it.
Yeah, it was just like, he's on these meds now, just medicate him up. But I thought, well, why we're not dealing with where it all came from, or where's the therapy, where's the help?
Yeah.
But I remember so many lovely mystical, magical experiences where that's where I thought, whoa, there's something else, there's this divinity, what we'd call it. So I remember having really bad anxiety. My daughter, she was about 1 year old, and there was a tree in my back garden. And I just thought, and I laid with this tree, and it was the first time in probably years that I felt calm and lovely.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that tree's speaking to me. And it's like everything I'd done from being a child, where I'd forgotten about it, came back.
Yeah. It's like that we've severed as connection, and we don't think we think we're better than the trees, and we work in perfect harmony. And I know people get this tree hugger, and it has been recorded that they do help, and they do know that we're there, and they are sentient beings just as ourselves.
Absolutely, it felt like it was like mother's love. And so then that's how I was dealing with my anxiety for a long time, just going out and sitting with this tree. I didn't know nothing about grounding. I didn't know nothing about any of these spiritual things, meditation. But I know this sounds crazy, but there was some frequencies in a Drake song.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time always playing this certain, it wasn't the lyrics. I used to think, I'm not listening to them lyrics, but it was this music part. And I'd just play it over and over. And then again, that made me feel lovely. And I thought, wow, this is nice. So I think I would go into like meditation and using and classic FM.
Yeah.
Not knowing it were 432 hertz or, you know, these lovely frequencies. But I'd put classic FM on and I'd go, wow. That's it. Oh my gosh, there, I feel good again. I can function. Yeah.
So you were like naturally led to it, weren't you?
Yeah.
And what made you then go deeper into that? What?
Yeah. So got to 20. Quite a lot of things happened at 28 through this Saturn return, as I know that it's called now. These 7-year cycles that you go through. Yeah. So I got to 28, and and again, looking, searching, like, why did I feel good next to that tree? Why do I feel good with that music? And then I found that I didn't even know what meditation was.
Yeah.
And then I found this thing called the Silver Method. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
And I bought it.
Yeah.
And I did it. I did these practices because I just wanted to feel like I could function here on Earth and be there for my children because it was awful. And I did these practices every day and I could feel myself growing stronger, feeling more connected, being able to deal with life. And it was and it was magic. And then, I had magical experiences happen all the time because I'm so sensitive.
Yeah.
But these, now I could see them and everything became magical. It was beautiful. So it was the Silver Method.
Yeah, that's quality.
So Jose Silva, the guy who brought this method out, he was a radio technician, wasn't he? Yeah,
I didn't know that, But he used it on his children, didn't he?
He used it on his children, so he knew that if you slowed down radio waves, you could get the information across much faster and it were clearer.
Yeah.
And so he did hypnosis, didn't he? And all these things. And then he used it on his children to pass exams at school.
Yeah, and they were flying, weren't they, as well? Whereas they were not excelling it before.
Yeah.
But no, that's interesting, isn't it? And also I want to touch on, because me and you have also talked about it before, with how you got into the healthy eating of stuff, like as kids have also had eczema, haven't we?
Yeah.
And just, can you touch on the problems that you've faced with that, really?
Yeah, so...
Because it's like it's an uphill battle, isn't it?
Oh, my gosh. So my girls are now 19 and 17, but they were born with severe eczema, where they were in bandages.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, it's horrific. Your child is screaming, crying, scratching, and that went on for a few years. I kept going back to the doctors, and they just kept giving me, like, creams to put on. And I kept saying that surely it's something internal, like, is there anything we could do? Do you think it's something they're eating? No, it's not the food. So it was I just thought, right. And I'd been to a Chinese medicine place where they'd talked about, it could be the seeds of the tomato. But we didn't get to the bottom of it there.
Yeah.
I think it was something that, because the reason why we didn't get to the bottom of it is because I had to find it, because then that were going to be my journey.
Through self-discovery. So
I thought, right, we eat healthy because my dad's Italian, so I've cooked everything from scratch. But actually, when you really looked at it, we were still having a lot of preservatives, additives. I would give them the odd packet of Quaver crisps.
They blow it up, don't they?
Oh, the maize starch is the worst.
Yeah.
So I did a journal and I took everything out of their diet and just only gave them nuts, seeds, vegetables, fruit, nothing with additives, and their skin cleared up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what had been going on for like nearly 5 years now had gone in 2 weeks.
It's mad, isn't it? Once you start playing about with your diet, we did the same with Archie with some bars. He kept on having them, and he was telling us that he had these persistent headaches. And I'm like, there's got to be something. And I were on this journey of also checking what we were putting in, and it were maize, maltonase, is it maltodextrin or whatever that.
Okay.
That were in something. So I like, he's having these bars every morning, evening, and night. He's having 3 a day, and he's saying it after it. So I'd said to Zoe, we need to kind of pull it out.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're going crazy here now. You're just taking everything, because it was a big transformational period of my life. But when I'd actually taken it out, I says, hear me out, let's just take it out for 2 weeks, see how he is. And if they've gone, these headaches, that he's not having them again, because that's obviously the problem. And we did that 2 weeks out, and it stopped.
It's mad, isn't
and
it?
It's just, we don't know how exposed we are to these things, do we?
No.
And it's crazy.
But it's hard then with people around you, because their fear comes in of food, because they don't want to cut or look at it. And so they don't believe you, but you're like, well, the proof's there.
Yeah, yeah.
So then the girls would go to a party, mums would go, oh, it's only a cake. And I'd be like, a cake to you is 3 weeks of hell for us at home.
Yeah.
So
it's just not anything. It's like a term a lot of people use, is that out of alignment. It knocks me out of alignment, eating these certain foods. And yeah, I do eat them now and then, but I think it's to make you notice it more. It don't serve you anymore. And it is about letting go, and that's an hard lesson in itself, isn't it?
It is. So yeah, so I'd looked at their diet and then thought, well, there's something magic about food. So I did think I would eaten healthy all that time, but there were loads we could have done better. So girls were great. Again, got to 28. So the same, when I got to 28, I remember seeing this guy in the street with you know, one of them juggling balls.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, wow, like there was just a presence about him. And then I got chatting to him, and I kept having these secret little meetings with him on the park to talk about what we know today, things like the chemicals that have been sprayed in the sky. And he gave me my first bottle of zeolite.
Oh, cool. And
I remember, and he said, you need to have this zeolite to clean the heavy metals out of your body. So my diet was really good then, and I put in these drops in my water, and I just remember my gland, I could just feel something in my head just pop. And then all the colours were just better. The sky looked amazing. I felt really in control, and just, it was just fantastic.
Cool. Do you still use it to this day?
Yeah, I still use zeolite. I use it on and off, so I'll go through little phases. So I'll have it, and then I'll have some time off from it, and then I'll have it again.
Yeah.
But he gave me a book as well that day, and it was called Green for Life.
All right.
And it was all about living on green smoothies.
All right.
And it was, so I started doing these green smoothies.
How was that then?
It changed my life.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely incredible. I was still eating bits of food, but I was having mainly these green smoothies.
Juicing.
And I just felt incredible.
I do need to get back to that. Well, I hadn't actually tried it. I wanted to do the juicing where you just juice through the day and then have an evening meal, but not every day be having it. And it's funny when you start playing about with your diet and you just notice how much more energy that you seem to have. 28 seems like a good year in your life.
Well, it was them 2 years, 28 to 30. So 30, I broke away from my relationship with girl's dad.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Then everything just went everything felt aligned. Everything felt like just as it
clicked.
should. Yeah.
Everything
clicked
clicking
together. And I just remember thinking, I don't want anyone else to ever feel the way I did, having that anxiety for 24 hours a day. So that's why I love sharing the breath work, the meditation, things that have helped me. I love sharing them because I think it's the worst feeling in the world to be anxious. You can't do anything and you're not enjoying yourself ever. It's just awful.
I think that's very powerful because that's where I'm coming from. Is like I don't want anyone to feel the way that I went through it.
Yeah.
I know that it's necessary for you to suffer, but it shouldn't be prolonged. And people that haven't already seen a way out, you're kind of showing them a way out. Not saying that that's going to be all and end all, but it's like you throwing them out a raft to find their own way and their own little journey. When you dived into that, did you say, would you say when you're 28, you dived more into all this holistic ways of living, or were you already practicing that beforehand?
So as a child, I was doing mystical, magical things.
Yeah.
My fear was only on a night when it were dark.
Were it?
Yeah. Which is weird, because during the day I was fine. I was getting visits on a night, 100%. I remember my windows opening, curtains flying through. Not that I could see anything, but I could feel presence. And now I think that were definitely outer space people.
Yeah.
Just coming to see me. And I'll talk about that in a bit, but I have had more experiences as an adult through that. But as a child, I was, again, using music. So I'd put classical music on, and I'd sit in my bedroom like this, but I didn't know I was meditating.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I didn't do it that day, I'd feel different.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So,
well, it's not crazy, it's just...
And I was... I lived miles away from Ilkley,
yeah.
where River is. I had to get 2 buses, and I were only about 8 years old, and I was getting buses to Ilkley on my own, writing letters, putting them in River.
That's quality, isn't it?
And collecting stones, and just nobody had told me. I was just doing all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as a teenager, doing little rituals like... so I remember going out to my first clubs at 15. Shouldn't have been going out, but we all do it, don't we? And you want to feel, as a teenager, you want to feel like good, don't you? Like glowing. And I remember putting, I just thought, right, I know what I need to do to look good when I go out. And I remember getting 2 white candles, putting one there, lighting them. This sounds really stupid. Getting naked, and I had to walk through to purify myself. And then I'd have a really good night out.
Yeah. If that's... Did you have a good night out?
I'd have the best night out ever.
So it worked, did it?
So I was doing all these things.
Yeah.
And then from the age of 18, 19, that's where I met my children's dad.
Yeah.
But then the anxiety just kicked in massively.
Yeah.
And then for them, up until I was 28... that's where I was really lost. So as a kid, there were all these magical things happening.
Yeah.
Playing around with energy, thinking I might be a little witch.
Yeah.
Probably was. But yeah, I kind of lost it because I did. When somebody's telling you as well, oh, you're mad like your brother, you're scared to show. So I hid a lot of all that, what I'd done naturally as a child, because I didn't want to be sectioned.
And I can understand why you would, because it's the judgment that will put onto your brother is making you not want to step into your own power.
Yeah.
And I can fully see, and it's one of the reasons why we all love you, is you are authentically yourself, and you bring that really lovely energy, and you are unique in how you approach life. Sometimes I wish that I were a bit more like outgoing with it. And how did you manage to get to that point where you stepped into your own power? Because it is radiating, it really is. And it's
food.
Fun, you're so fun.
Do you know what? Probably the food, from experiencing that. So from 28, meeting this guy with the ball, he gave me this book, he gave me the zeolite. He then invited me to something called raw food potluck parties.
All right.
Didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
I went to this party and they were showing me these cakes and all these foods they'd made out of plants. Nothing was cooked, because they say when you cook your food over a certain degree, I can't remember what it is, but you destroy the nutrients and the enzymes. And I couldn't believe that there were these people living on raw foods who had more energy than I've ever seen anybody have in my life.
Yeah.
And they didn't, they were only sleeping for like 4 hours on a night and getting up wide awake, getting jobs done, happy, really happy people.
Yeah. Well, I touched on it with Lenny, and I didn't touch on it with him, but I've seen Lenny Kravitz does it as well.
Oh, does he? Oh, he looks amazing,
and he
doesn't
looks like 20
yeah,
he's done it, and he's like 50. It's mental, innit?
So I went all out then after seeing that with the girls. So we were on our own then, so a single mum then. So me and the girls, and we went all out on raw foods, and I felt like I could fly.
Yeah.
I literally felt like I could jump and just fly. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I find it as well when you do the fasting, you think that you'll have no energy. It does the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You are having 3-4 hours sleep and you've got more energy than you've ever had. It's just, we've all been taught to over consume, haven't we?
Yeah.
And food's this big. It's the new weapon, isn't it?
And then you're digesting it, and then all energy's there, and
you're slumped,
you've got nothing left. You can't think straight. But I think, like you do your fasting, you know that when you take that food out, something happens. You feel so connected to this God energy, divine, whatever you want to call it, source. And that's what I felt so strongly connected to that during that time. It were a good few years, and because
it's like your lower nature, it's all in your root chakra. So if you're not using that, you're able to live into your higher mind, aren't you? And so it keeps you more connected. But
I guess from being in that, I just got something clicked then. So all that fear would be root related, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All that fear I was going through, all that anxiety. And so it felt just like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So where did you get to where you were unpacking this fear? Were it just through the foods or were it through any other practices?
The Silver Method taught me meditation, hypnotherapy. I started then following Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton.
Definitely resonate with them.
Craig Braden. Craig Braden. He's next, yeah. You're up there with them. I've still got it now. I've got them on my wall. I used to do, what they're called? Your boards.
Vision boards.
Vision boards.
Yeah.
I've done loads of vision boards and they've all come true, but the only bit that hasn't yet is them. I've got them three, the three amigos. They're best scientists ever. And I'm with them, and I cut a picture out of myself with them.
Just a tiny.
So whether that's to meet them or, do some work.
I think we touched on it before, didn't we?
Yeah.
Where would you like end goal to be? You said, well, not end goal, but somewhere what you'd like to do, and you'd like to tour with Joe Dispenza on his...
I'd love to do that.
And I could fully see you doing that. It's just, there's only you that's going to stop you from doing it, isn't there? You keep on where you're going.
I feel just really uplifted, inspired by them. Abraham Hicks, Teresa Bullard, who lives in Yorkshire.
Yeah, you'll have to put me on.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, it's the sound healing as well. You've recently got a gong, haven't you? And that is, I'd never felt like it.
Oh, it's amazing.
Even like different ways that you hit it when we're in holistic practice, it just goes through every fibre of your being, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's working on your chakras, and you can hear angels singing in it. I've really bonded with it as well, and I can hear like the difference. So I'm channeling with the gong, and while I'm playing it, it brings out whatever and I'm asking it to bring out what that person needs. So it's all intention based, and I can feel it bringing certain frequencies out for that person that's laid on the bed, or for the group, the collective energy of the group. If I'm doing a sound healing.
Where do you find the most joy in the practices that you're doing at the moment?
Reflexology and sound healing.
Yeah.
And the reflexology came by accident, because when I do the energy healings, reiki, and cupping therapy, and I just kept getting drawn to. Do you remember when I used to before I was doing it? I'd push your feet, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I need to push these feet, and I feel like I get really excited to touch your feet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they feel like little creatures, like the babies.
Yeah, I found it like I remember when you said you was testing it out, and then you pressed that bit on my foot, and like a bit in my back clicked, and I was just like, what's that?
Yeah.
And it's just...
And the stuff like now, so I'm pressing the acupoints, and I can feel little bubbles and little crystals, and so all the nerve ends at the feet, the hands, the ears, and so it tells you, it's like a map, and it's telling you, oh, there's something going on there in that organ or that system of the body.
Yeah.
But because I'm an energy healer, and because I see and feel energy when I'm doing healings, I've got that on top of that. So while I'm getting messages through the feet.
That's cool.
I love it.
We've been beautifully designed, really, haven't we?
Yeah.
The way that it's just within an inch of everything. And now we're going to touch on what ancient knowledge have you been most drawn to? Because I know recently we've talked about it with the Essenes, being definitely tied to how they lived.
Definitely the Essenes have always had this feeling, a connection with Jesus. So if you'd say, who's your guide? I don't talk about it much now, I don't know why, but maybe it's changed. But yeah, I've always had this fascination with Jesus since I was a child, but not in any religious way. It was just my way. I've always felt Jesus is with me.
Yeah.
And at school, people used to laugh because I used to say I fancied Jesus, but I didn't know what fancying meant. But it was just a connection.
Yeah.
I've got this thing for Jesus. And then we did, because I went to performing arts school, and we did Jesus Christ Superstar, and I dated the boy that played Jesus just because he played Jesus.
Yeah, self-manifested.
Just because he played Jesus.
When you were going through all this then as well, the awakening, like, I know you've always been going through it, but when you truly accepted it and took it on in all forms. What was the hardest point of that movement? Like, was it your friends and family seeing and maybe changing how they act around you, or was it something else? Or
I don't know, really.
Or have you just kind of took it in your stride?
I think, yeah, because I think everyone's always thought I'm a bit weird. So, you know, that when they say, oh, she's weird, or... So, yeah, probably when I started the food thing.
Yeah.
Everything else I can handle, you know, she's seen numbers or this. But the food thing really got to me because I could see what were happening with the food. But people, just laughing about it. Oh. So, like, for example, with the friends, alcohol went for me because alcohol made my anxiety worse. So why would I keep putting alcohol in my body? Not to be a party pooper, and I'm not against the alcohol, but for my body,
if it don't fit, it don't fit.
So then, I do have a group of friends who we're all very different, and they are Prosecco girls. I'd call them They're into the Prosecco. So then, I didn't have really... That kind of fizzled off, hanging out with them. I'll be really honest. Because what am I going to do? I'm just going to sit there and they're talking about... I didn't have a TV in my house.
Yeah.
I've only recently got a TV because I've been with Lee now 3 years and he likes Netflix. But I took a TV... We didn't have a TV, me and kids.
It's mad, isn't it? Because I watched little to no TV anymore, whereas I used to consume a lot of it.
So then if you're with your friends and they're talking about drinking and TV shows, and you're trying to talk about your shaga tea because it makes you feel amazing, and they're all laughing at you. You're like, what? Oh. It's
hard because that's what I say when you're not resonating at the same frequency. Like you both, like I've got a lot of friends and still love them to bits. We just find it very hard to talk because you're not on the same frequency. And I had this recently at the gym when we were in sauna, and the guy just started asking me more questions of why I was reading a certain book, and he like kept on asking me more inquisitive, and then he went, so does it all help? I'm like, yeah. And he says, I'm only asking because his friend is going through an awakening. And he's like, I don't know how to speak to him. I says, you're like speaking to my friend. Like, he'll get there where he needs to get to, but it's a process he needs to go through. And it is difficult because you're not talking about the same things that you used to talk about. And you just don't fit. But you've got to concentrate. The way I look at it, you've got to concentrate on yourself. And then hopefully people will either catch you up or you can try and inspire them in another way.
Yeah.
You can't shake anyone and tell them what to do.
No, you can't. For some people, that awakening's very fast, so it's harder. That's why I couldn't think then. I was like, because my awakening has been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been years and years. Well, it's been since I was little trying to work out what all this stuff was.
Yeah.
And then seeing my brother, because when he had his awakening, that were very quick actually.
Yeah.
And he was telling us everything we talk about today, all the conspiracies that we would talk about today. There were no Google, there were no internet then. And he knew. He was even telling me, I remember Parliament being on. So he was 18, I was 12. And Parliament had come on the TV at home then. And he was saying, he was decoding all these hand symbols they were doing.
Right.
And he was like telling me what they were talking about.
Yeah, I like the secret societies, Yeah,
and he just knew everything. And then I remember once visiting him in hospital, I think he was about 21, and he was speaking fluent Russian.
What?
And he didn't speak Russian.
That's wild.
And we only knew because one of the nurses said, how does he know how to speak Russian? She was Russian. And again, that made me go, whoa, like he's coming from a different part of the brain. Like, how is he tapped into that?
Have you ever spoke to him about that?
Yeah.
What is he?
Well, it's hard to speak to him now. Now he's 49.
Yeah.
Sectioned on and off all his life from being the age of 18.
Yeah.
He hasn't been sectioned now for about 6 years. Mm-hmm. But now I know he's catching up on all that trauma.
Yeah.
So he's very timid, very vulnerable now. And just really, from being quite psychotic and is completely different.
It's an hard one, isn't it?
It's hard one.
Yeah.
So we talk about it and we laugh about things he did and stuff like that.
Yeah. Still got a sense of humour then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still there because it gets, now I'm talking like he spoke then.
Yeah.
And so he'll get excited. He'll be like, oh, yeah. Da, da, da.
Do you ever do any practices on holistic
do you know
therapies
what?
on him?
My mum kept saying, can you send him healing? Can you send him healing? And I'd only send him light, and it felt like I couldn't.
Right.
It felt like I couldn't interfere with his journey.
Right.
Which, yeah, and I think when it's family or somebody that's very close to you, like Jesus would say, they know your flaws, so their belief isn't as strong.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
A bit like you meeting that guy, you need someone from out of context.
Yeah, and then all them limited beliefs out there, you're just seeing this.
Yeah, I get that. It's like my brother's going on a bit of a journey at the moment, and then I can only help him so much, but then I say I'll back off.
Yeah.
Like, I can only give so much, and then I'll also ask him to give me feedback on me, because it's nice to hear it. But then you can end up into a point of you both just telling each other your bad traits rather than your good, isn't it? So you've got to let everyone go off on their own little tandem, haven't you? You
do.
So, no. The other thing I wanted to touch on is you like going to magical places. You're always somewhere else, aren't you? I mean, I'm trying to do checklists like you are, but where do you find them, and where's your favourite place
of all?
Oh, my goodness.
I love Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Glastonbury's become very popular now in the spiritual community because of what it is. And because of the internet now, we can find things out much quicker. I just remember being drawn to going to Glastonbury. And when I got there, I found out, Jesus actually came here. So I'm like, that's why I've come here. I've come to cross paths where Jesus was.
Yeah.
And they say that Jesus was in Glastonbury training with the Druids. He was left there as a child, apparently.
Yeah,
this is one of
I didn't know that,
Yeah, and when you go to Glastonbury, the local people will tell you this.
Yeah.
And there's things written there that you can see.
Yeah, cool.
And I've had a lot of amazing experiences in Glastonbury because it is a ley line, it is a portal. I've seen fairies with my naked eyes, eyes. No mushrooms. I'd not even touched mushrooms then.
Yeah.
I'd not had anything in my body. It was just high vibrational, on the raw foods, on these ley lines, on these PowerPoints, and I saw fairies flying.
No, but I truly believe you. And for anyone who is like judgmental and maybe watching that, we only perceive 5% of our light into our normal eyes.
Yeah.
So when people are seeing other stuff, I totally believe you.
And I had there was an amazing lady called Hira. She works a lot in the pyramids, Hira Hussein. And I was following her on YouTube. I just loved how she spoke, really resonated with her. She's not like some big person that, like, not everybody knows she is, but I really resonated with her. I noticed she was coming to Glastonbury to do is it a pilgrimage?
Yeah.
Pilgrimage. And I booked on and I went. And it was absolutely, and I loved how she taught, because she sat on the floor with us. She said, don't call me teacher, I'm not above you, just take what resonates with you. And I just loved everything about it.
The whole approach to that's nice. And
she was teaching mystery teachings, the old ancient tools and stuff, and it was just incredible. And then we stayed, we did the workshops in the Abbey House.
Oh, yeah.
In the Abbey House, underneath, there's a secret chapel. And the lady that were running bills, she went, go on, I'll let you all go down. So she let us in this secret chapel. We went down. Hira's got us in a meditation. Portal opens outside of me, and a dragon came in, flew around me. And I'd never, ever connected. Some people go, oh, yeah, I'd never connected with a dragon in my life.
Yeah.
And this dragon came. And it told me it was one of my guides.
That's quality, isn't
it? And it was just there. It was real.
Yeah. No, totally.
So real. But that time as well, I've got on my phone, and I can send you pictures if you did want to add them on.
Yeah.
So I'd got to the Abbey House this morning for the workshop about 20 minutes too early.
Yeah.
Nobody was there. It wasn't open. So I'm walking around the grounds, and I looked in the window, and I knew this window because I'd already been working in this Abbey House.
Yeah. I
knew there were no curtains, there were nothing on the window, no material. It was just a plain window. Yet I could see Jesus.
That's wild.
But like, not the Jesus we what do you call it? You know, the white, not the white Jesus, more of like an Egyptian looking Jesus.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I knew it was him. And I took a picture, and I've still got it today. Every time you look back at the picture, different things start popping out.
Did they?
So now I've got light beans, I've got a pixie. Get this, right? So if I show you this picture, everybody I show it to, something else starts popping out of the picture.
That's crazy.
So you've got all these different dimensions going on in this one picture, and it's coming to life. Anyway, I thought, there's a little girl at bottom, and there's an old guy. Hey, that's my granddad. So look, and now in this picture, what's come out in it is I've got a photograph of me and my brothers, and my granddad's above us like that, and I'm down here, and that's come out in the picture.
That's wild.
And you can see my granddad and his glasses. And I've got it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, it's there.
Have you ever been able to speak to anyone on the other side then?
So, spirit is not my strong connection. It's more angels, beings, fairies. Spirit does come through.
Yeah.
But it's not like very clear. You know, like some people have very clear messages.
Yeah, crystal clear.
But they do come through normally when I'm doing energy healings.
Yeah.
So I always put a golden light of protection, and now and again I'll get a message from spirit for that person.
Yeah.
So for one lady, it was I could feel the presence of a woman, and she showed me a place, a particular place. And I said to this girl after, oh, you've got to go to this certain place. She went, oh, that's where my mum's ashes are.
I totally believe you, because when I first got put onto you, we were through Zoe's friend, and she says you might want to know, because Archie were having them nightmares at the time, weren't he?
Yeah.
And he was seeing the same thing that Zoe had seen when she were a kid. So heard about you and wanted to do energy heal, wanted to cleanse the house. And I said to Zoe, because I says I'm still sceptical, I'm very sceptical at this point. I'm like, don't tell her anything apart from Archie's having that. And I was doing the Monroe tapes at the time in the bedroom, while I was sleeping, obviously, listening to them. And when you sent us the video recording over, and you were telling us about certain rooms, and you knew that where I meditated, and you mentioned about side of where my bed was, that I'd opened a portal. And there were loads of other stuff that you popped in there that were only that I would know, or me and Zoe would know. And I was like, penny were dropping more and getting your belief more in, because it's something from other side has got to bring through for you to merge to believe.
Absolutely.
Not believe, to know that there is something else.
Yeah, and it can be so small.
Yeah, like, as long as it's the little indications.
It can be tiny, but it makes you go, whoa.
Just grab your attention. Yeah. It wants to grab your attention, doesn't it? Because it wants to. It needs to be something significant that you only know.
Yeah.
You also did it with, I think, on the video that you sent through. You also did a reading for me and Zoe, and there were bits that you'd done. I've still got it actually.
Wow.
That's the beauty of doing the reading in how it was. Because at first I thought, oh, it's not very personal. This.
Yeah.
Like, it's not one-on-one, but you were like, well, you can always watch it back through. Which is that's the beauty in it.
I've tried to do them face to face, and sometimes you've got to surrender what's right for you, because I know people want them face to face, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, well, I
get very drained and tired, and I don't feel like as I'm channeling authentically.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm on my own, press record. This is card readings, oracle card readings. Press record, and I can channel. Boom, 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 and you can see me. I can feel it.
Yeah, well, also, sometimes you could just be feeling the other person's energy.
Yeah.
And if they're a bit anxious, you can take that on, can't you? So it could be something that just distorts the channel that comes through. Because the other thing is, when the end of the channel was, end of the video that you sent over, you said at the very end, you said, something you're about to do now, don't do it. And you'll know what I mean. And me and Zoe were sat there watching this, and I just rolled a spliff at the time. And I had it in my hand because it was the end of the video. I had to go out, and you said that, and I was like, just threw it out like,
wow.
Oh, great. So I can't even do that now.
Yeah.
I can't say that I have smoked it since, but just not as regular.
Yeah.
Or, well, not even near. But I was like, that were a little, like, acknowledgement. Because you were like, I don't know what it means, but it says that whatever you're about to do now at this moment.
See,
and I've still got the video, so it's like I can still watch it back, and it's not bollocks. But
yeah.
Also, it was nice because Zoe got to see it as well. Because it like she started to believe it. But
I remember doing your house, and I didn't know anything about you. I didn't even know that you. For me, because I didn't know that you were on a journey. Did I?
Yeah.
And I remember hearing your Starseed family.
Yeah, I remember you saying it in
and
kitchen.
They came through bowl, and I was playing my bowl, and I could hear these talking, and I thought, whoa, some of these guys are Starseeds. And I knew it wasn't just one of you. Like, I just don't,
And when you'd said that in kitchen, I literally a couple of days before I'd found out that it was a starseed. I don't tend to go too much on that, but it's funny, like, again, linking it up. I'd only just looked on it, and then you're...
a connection to
another connection. You're just like, what? And then, obviously, this is what got me so interested in it, is because you're getting little nuggets of information, and you're like, there's something more here, there's something more, and you keep on going further and further, and then... Yeah, you end up there, don't you? But no, is the where we were saying where else do you think's magical pinpoints from round Yorkshire? Would you say as well? Because I know Glastonbury seems to be your favourite.
Glastonbury is my favourite. Obviously, the Yorkshire. There's so many places in Yorkshire Dales. Now, Druid's Temple is only 200 years old, isn't it?
I went there last year. It's a weird feeling there.
You can feel.
Yeah.
But they say if you put any stones in a circle, even in your garden, because of the vibration, you create a vortex because there's a bounce. And over so many years, that bounce gets faster and faster and faster, and it creates a vortex.
Yeah.
So a vortex of energy. So you're going to be opening portals. There's going to be all sorts going on there.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got people doing ritual there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Druid's Temple, wow. It
feels very gothic, doesn't it?
Yeah. And there's that Matteo Stefano.
Yeah.
He picks up on the energy there massively, and he ends up channeling some ancient druids.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he visit the Druids Temple as well?
He did the United Kingdom, the chakras of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where he started, but he went to Seven Sisters, which I haven't been to,
no,
so I need
haven't
to go
been
there. He did Glastonbury Seven Sisters, he did Druid's Temple, and then he went all the way up to Scotland.
Yeah,
but
he did the Brimham Rocks as well,
I did Brimham Rocks, that's it.
Because that's my favourite. And I did... I'm having the lady on in the next couple of weeks. We did a 9D breath work, and it took you on a submersive journey. And that's what it brought through for me. Brimham, it take you to your happy place as a kid, and I've always loved it.
So you were connected to the rocks, the minerals in the rocks, there's information in them.
Well, they're just formation. You don't even know they've got like that, do you, at all? It's crazy.
And again, he talks about how the Druids were there.
Yeah. Who were the Druids, or do you know?
I don't really know. Yeah. I just know there were these...
Because I heard that it being thrown about, and I've thrown it about myself, saying Druids, but I didn't actually know who the people were.
Technically, I couldn't even tell you, but I know that they were holding the information, weren't they, of connecting with nature.
Yeah, yeah.
So connecting with nature and, just doing what we're doing today, I guess.
Yeah, because the thing I took away from it, I thought they were stepping away from the church and stuff. They were just going out and staying away from that.
Or were they before the church?
Were they? Could have
been.
Know.
I'm rubbish with all...
Yeah, that's my fault as well.
Rubbish with technical stuff. Rubbish with dates. But can tell you about feelings. And magical stuff that comes through.
What have been the transformational stuff that you've done then? That you can pinpoint that's really... any other practices that you've done yourself and went, wow, that's really cleared me out, that's really...
The breath work, the Wim Hof breath work, which Dave Dunn taught me.
Yes.
So Dave Dunn.
Hi, Dave.
Dave Dunn manifested. In fact, me and Dave were in Glastonbury, right? I'll tell you about what we did. we went to Glastonbury. Dave was going through probably a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Very dark time, very lost. And we'd gone for the solstice in his camper van. And then I thought, do you know what? I really feel like I need to give Dave a treatment. And I'd only been to Glastonbury a couple of times before, but I didn't know about the Chalice Well Gardens. Because every time you go back to Glastonbury, you find out there's the tour and there's
Something new.
Something new. Didn't know about the Chalice Well Gardens and this holy well. I did not know about it. But so there's these gardens, there's this sacred well, and then there's a wall, and then there's like a field. And I said, I don't know why, Dave, I've got to take you to this point. And I took him to this point and I gave him reiki, energy healing. And it was actually behind the wall where the well was, and I never knew. No. So this well is the red water. It's supposed to be, there's two sides. There's two water lines. I've forgotten what the name is now.
Yeah.
You've got the white side and the red side. It's like the blood of Christ. There's lots into it. Anyway, took Dave to this point, and I've got him on this red side, so you'd think of blood, and it's full of iron is this water. It's gorgeous. Wow. Anyway, I get to his feet, not doing reflexology, I'm on his feet. The veins in his feet started writing a name.
Wow.
And they wrote a name that's very personal to Dave.
Yeah.
So something very personal to Dave, blah, blah, blah. And we couldn't believe it. Then he wrote another name, and it was very personal to Dave. So again, I think something had opened up for Dave. And it wasn't me, I'm not magic. It's just what we were both bringing through. Right place, right time, right energy. And then after that, that's when Dave started going on his travels, and he ended up staying and living for a little bit with Wim Hof.
Yeah.
And he came back to the UK and taught me this Wim Hof breathwork, which is an ancient breathwork. Wim hasn't invented it, has he? But he's brought it to light and changed a lot of people's lives. And that breathwork for me makes me feel strong, healthy, happy, grounded. Just, really, really good. And anytime, because I still do get anxiety, still super sensitive, but like you said before earlier, it will only last a few minutes or 10 minutes or an hour at the max. If it's lasted more than a couple of hours, I know that I haven't done my tools, and I'm not trying to escape anything. I just want to be able to let that fight or flight and them chemicals that are running through my body for no particular reason. I don't need to be scared. So I'll do the Wim Hof breath work, and guaranteed it will completely go. If my anxiety is really bad, it's like having a paracetamol for a headache, where a really bad headache where it takes the edge off. Yeah. So, and that's what I share with. So I have a lot of people saying, oh, I'm not feeling good, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling down. And the two things I'll always say to go do is the Wim Hof breathwork and the meditation.
Yeah. No, I had a little panic attack the other night. And I was like starting to hyperventilate, and I just had this voice just said, just breathe, just go back to breath. So I went back to the 2 sharp inhales through the nose and just slowly hold it and then slowly release it. After 5 rounds of that, which is not a very long time, it was just completely done. And this voice just went, and that's alchemy. And I'm like,
that's alchemy, that's what it is.
And I'm like, wow.
That is it.
It's wild, isn't it? But it's so simple and effective, but we all forget about it. People, I know when panic attacks can happen with people, we tend to over hyperventilate, and you keep going this state of shock, and you realise if you're in control of your breath, and you just like centre yourself. I mean, it's a lot easier to say than done, but I'd literally had someone message the day after, and she's going through a bit of an awakening. She said she'd had a panic attack the previous day to that, because she was on about coming up. And I mentioned about that breath. I says, just go and search online, breath works to calm the anxiety, and and it'll make you feel like you're not powerless anymore, because you're taking your power back. And that's all I think this podcast is trying to do, and what you're trying to do is we're trying to give people their own power back. We're not saying do what I do.
Yeah.
But we're just saying this is what's worked for me.
Yes.
And then there's an whole area to go and discover. There's like Wim Hof's got a breath work. There's thousands of breath work.
Yeah.
And it's finding what fits right for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's beautiful just knowing that everyone's got access to it.
We have, and it's free, and it's not that hard to do, is it?
No. But I think a lot of people, and even me going back 5-6 years, if someone went, oh, I did breath work for that, I'd have snud, just like sniffed at chance.
This is the thing, you've got to take that action to try. If you are at a very low place, or very anxious, or you're having a panic attack, you don't have that motivation and you've got to dig deep, haven't you, to go, I'll just try what she said, or I'll just try what they said, it worked for them. And if it don't work, at least you've tried. But if it works, wow, like now you've got an amazing tool that in your bag now that you can use.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like going back to drugs to give people, just because they're having other experiences that aren't in these realms, we drug them up. And like, they're doing it with children at schools. It's just, it needs to stop. And people need to realise that we're far more powerful if we can step into these practices that are ancient practices. They're just recoming about, aren't they? And how do you see it in the next few years? Like, what? I truly believe that we're going back into a golden age. I think there's going to be a lot of suffering first, but is that what you see on the horizon?
That's what I feel. I feel, yeah, it's going into chaos. It's absolute carnage right now, but... Yeah. Like, there's a card, and it's called Disruption card, that comes up in my Oracle cards, and it talks about how everything, in order to make a new life, a new system, a new way, it has to go into chaos. It gets shaken up. Yeah. Because it's not happening on its own. So it's like, right, okay, let's shake it up like a snow globe, so that when all that snow settles again, there's a brand new picture, there's a new reality.
And like a rebirth.
Like a rebirth. But I am excited, and I do feel, I know there's a lot going on, but I also have a really good feeling. But we do need to keep feeling like that and bringing it in, as well as seeing the truths that are going on. And
I think for me as well, I think we've all got to play as part, even if they are these little bits. Like fasting for me is a part of...
Yeah.
I think that I think it splits off into... How can I word it? Things just go really nicely if I give up one day of not eating a week, and if I can go further than that. Other people can't get it, but when I run about that, I met that bloke in the sauna, and he was telling me about his friend who were going through the similar thing, and he managed to get something out of me, and he asked for advice of how to treat him. I just said, just be there for him.
Yeah.
That were on after a 3-day fast. That's whilst I were in it. It's like you're guided to these conversations that with more meaning to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And things work out better than you actually that you do yourself. But it ain't gonna be one of them scenarios where no one takes any action, and it all turns into sunshine and rainbows, because it's not. It's gonna take a collective movement, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Are your two daughters then? How do they see it all fitting in?
So
they what's the word? Do they do any meditating or any practice anything?
So they were brought up a certain way with me, and the dad is very different. So we live different lives. So they've seen both ways.
Yeah.
And it's funny because then my youngest went through a really tough time at school. Mm-hmm. Didn't fit in the system. I know it sounds awful, but lack of empathy.
Yeah.
Not very nice. Bit of a bully. And I'm thinking, wow, like where's all that come from? Because I've brought her up on raw foods and meditation. Because we did meditation when they were kids, and I used to, on an evening, we'd have these little forms, and I'd have them at the side of the bed, and they'd write 5 gratitudes, what fruit they'd eaten that day, how much water they'd had, and the goals for tomorrow. So I did all these lovely, lovely things, but they have to go through both, don't they, to find their way. So she didn't hardly go to school. I'm not too fussed about the school thing, but
yeah.
I am fussed about behaviour
Yeah.
and being kind to people.
Treat others as
Yeah, so that's what we're getting to me. I wasn't bothered about the school thing. I thought we can sort all that out another time. But she wasn't going to school. And then she got to GCSEs and she was like, what am I going to do? I want to go to college, because she just wanted to go and not, you know, further her education, but also just to be with friends and have fun and just go to that. I was like, well, I've taught you what to do, Fifi. Get your binaural beats on. So she were so 432 hertz is very good for getting information across, slow them brainwave patterns down, do your meditation. And so in the last couple of months, she did what I told her to do, and she passed all the GCSEs.
Oh, cool.
And so for her, it was like, so they do it when they're on and off with things.
Yeah.
Same with the food. So as teenagers, all the skin went, eczema come back because they were having cancer pop at school and things that, you know, I couldn't control what they were eating.
Yeah. Well, they've got to find out themselves as well, and I think that's the hardest one that I had with my son, because we thought he was a bit too bossy, and I was like to my dad, I'm trying to stop him from being bossy. And he went, why are you trying to stop him from being bossy? I says, well, he's going to either end up with no friends or he's going to end up getting a punch. And he went, he'll learn from both.
Yeah.
He went, he'll learn from both. And he says, you can't have them stabilisers on all the time.
Yeah.
He says, you won't learn if you keep on putting stuff out. It's like when you play board games with him and you're like, oh, no, I'd do that. And you're like, no, you've got to stop. He's got to make his own.
Yeah.
You find your own way then, don't you? It's through experiences.
And so it's like you're sowing the seeds now when they're little, and they will use them seeds. So the girls use them now. So skin's flared up, or they're feeling anxious or out of balance. What have I eaten? Oh, I've had a bag of Doritos yesterday.
Because you've brought that self-awareness to the table. So
they've got that awareness, and then they'll be like, oh, Mum, I've eaten really well today and I feel fantastic. So that's they're still they're in between different worlds, because they've been brought up very different on my side and the dad's side, which is great, because
they get to see it all though. Then don't they?
It all.
I found it so hard to keep diets down and stuff. I think I can only do a lot of fruit and try to keep it with veg and stuff, but then they want to eat what they want to eat, don't they? And it's like,
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard, but we don't need to put all this focus into it either, do we?
No.
We need to just like have fun as well. I went very extreme with the girls. We went completely raw food. I was sending them with pack-ups with courgette spaghetti, grapes, raisins, even their Christingle, what they did at Christmas. All kids were taking sweets. Theirs had goji berries, raisins, dates. And they were like, oh, Mum, do you know what I mean? And then what happened, my youngest, who doesn't like being told what to do, that's why she didn't fit in school, started binging when she went with me, and she gained a lot of weight. It's
because it's that resistance up to it, innit?
So when she went with me, my friend lived down the road from me, she went, Mariesa, do you know I've seen Fifi with a packet of crisp, big Doritos like this behind her wall, stuffing it in. So you've got, you have to have that balance.
It's about balancing it and then showing them that self-awareness. I aren't as tight on it anymore. I'm just not. You can't be, because if you put them brake lights on so much, they're going to just hop over.
Definitely. That's what Fifi had done. But then they've sown the seeds, they know what's what now. So,
well, they're going to find their own way on it, aren't they? It's just like, obviously don't give them poison, but...
I'd gone all extreme because I'd seen what it had done to the skin, and I was like, whoa, and then,
I think that's enough for them to want to change it, though, when they start seeing that flare back up. It's like, that's their signal. It goes off, doesn't it?
Same for me. I'm not on my fully raw anymore. I'm in a relationship. It's nice to cook together and eat together. But I do have that awareness, so I know that what makes me feel good when I'm eating what food. So and for me, I definitely don't have white sugar in the house, salt. I don't eat pasta. My dad's Italian, we were brought up on pasta, but there's something in the pasta that makes me very anxious, gives me really bad anxiety. So I have buckwheat pasta.
The other thing I wanted to touch on with like going back to the scenes is they all ate food that were grown by the side of them. You know, like they grow it in their own gardens or no travelled far. And I think that's what we've got a problem in society at the moment is we can eat whatever food we want. It's all world food and it loses its nutritional value. You know, with energy, as soon as it starts travelling, it loses it. And I think that's where we need to get back to. And obviously, we're saving money as well as saving us health, aren't we? And we're not... I was trying to say over there was... I've mentioned it to Zoe about eating that kind of way. And she went, well, what would we eat now in season? And I went, well, there's about 20 items, so you ain't... neither of us are getting fat eating, like, sweet potato. You get pretty sick of it. I'm like, but that's why they live so... good lives, because there wasn't all this gluttonous and we've got it constantly put in his face all the time.
We've got too much variety. It's like every night, what we're having for tea now. You know, now I'm in this relationship. Anything, can't you? And it's like every night, oh, what we're having, because you can have everything. Yeah. It becomes this event, doesn't it? And I like cooking, so it's something where I've tried to pull it back, but still enjoy it. And that finding the balance in that's been hard in itself. And what else want to touch on with the scenes? It's gone. I always feel a scene energy come through you.
Yeah.
Especially when I do your treatment.
I think what it was with me...
lights me up.
It was... I didn't even know the scenes what until about 3 months ago. In fact, whenever you... it might have been 3-4 months ago. But my consciousness had been lining up with that. Like you say, you were inherently kept on moving, like felt a connection with trees and all this other stuff, magical stuff happening. You were just doing it. You were drawn to it. Yeah. And it's like my consciousness with the 1 day fasting and praying to, like speaking good on the water and being more present. All the things that I were doing. And also the one where, when I went through this awakening, I'd spoken to Zoe, and I remember saying it were hard at that time because she was like, I can't do this. You've done all conspiracy stuff, and this is it feels like same again. I said, well, it feels like it's either. She was like, is it me or this? And I'm like, I've got to follow that, and that's what the Essenes were saying. Yeah. And now that I've listened to it, that's what the Essenes said. They realised it's something bigger than them or the families, because it is about them and the families. Yeah. And all these things that were lining up, it like ducks in a row, and you're like, how can it line up so much to the Essenes, how they were living? I'm not totally there yet because I think it's progression. You can't. Everything that I tried doing at the start were click. Like I want it to happen now. I want it to happen now, and it was just like you're gonna get that, like you say with your daughter, that resistance that pull. You've gone so far one way, it's going to chuck you back just as far because it's about progression and doing the small little habits. Definitely. You can't go 100 mile an hour into this. Or you can.
Do you think you had a past life with them?
I walked with them? I don't know if it's just once you open up and you start doing these things, what they did, and you're clearing your body, because that's all it is, we're a torus field of energy. So it's constantly flowing through. The more that you unlock these blockages, the more that the Essenes consciousness and like Jesus or whatever consciousness that is, it can flow through you because it can choose you as more as that you nip that back. It's like the more that you eat crap and drink loads of alcohol and you might become abusive because you're lower nature, that energy is getting stopped at the root. That's the way I kind of see it for anyone that's thinking. But I find it fascinating that it can line up to all that, and it's like you're not just pinpointing stuff and going, oh yeah, that's definitely. It might be that it's like there were too many coincidences for it to happen, and I think I see a lot of it now. A lot of people are lining up with that same frequency as the Essenes. I'm not saying that I'm special. I'm saying there's a lot of people trying to line up. Well, not trying. They're guiding themselves already to it. I think that's what's coming in for the golden age. Because
there's a lot of people connected to Mary Magdalene right now, isn't there? You're seeing a lot of that feminine work. But again, it's not that you're the chosen one and you was reincarnated by her. Yeah. There's a lot of, like, it's exactly what you said. It's there. That's how I felt when I used to say, I can feel Jesus with me. It's like, I'm not the chosen one. It's
the Christ consciousness.
It's the Christ consciousness.
Yeah, and that's what...
It might not even be a Jesus.
Yeah, I think... I've discussed it with some friends the other day. Yeah, I think Jesus was a person. But I think what we're all missing the point of when we're saying Jesus this and Jesus that, and we're externalising our power, whereas Jesus never said that. Jesus was trying to teach. He didn't want followers. He was trying to teach people and give them the way. People who wanted to know questions, he'd answer them. And then he also said, all the mystical things that I can do, if you step into the things that I'm doing, you can be more powerful than what I am.
And they were doing the techniques, weren't they? They were doing the breath work, the fasting.
Yeah, he wasn't saying, hold me up as the Messiah. We're all equal beings, but some of us aren't living a pure life, and when whatever that means, like the Essenes very much believed you don't kill animals because they believe they just have as much right as here, and it's very hard to get everyone on board with that. I went through a stage where I was telling everyone not to eat meat. You've got to let people, like you have with your daughters and I have doing with my kids, is you've got to let them guide themselves to that point of self-awareness. You can't shake people and tell them how to live their life. It just don't work. All you can be is what, again, this is what Jesus was saying, is be an embodiment of what you say you are and what you are, because when you do that, and when you spoke about all these people having all that on the raw diet, all this energy, look what it did to you. It inspired you. In that moment, you were like, I want some of that. How did they do it? So people get more inquisitive to how people are living their lives, and I think that's what's great about, one great aspect about social media at the moment. I'm seeing people who are in the 70s doing calisthenics and they're on raw food, and people are going, no, you need meat, you need protein. I'm like, look at these guys. They're an embodiment of what they're practicing, preaching.
And then you get people saying, yeah, but you need this, you need that. And I'm like, okay, but how about, I've hung out with people that are just fruitarian. Is it fruitarianism?
Yeah, fruitarian, yeah.
And they're absolutely...
it's a frugivore, and But
I'm not saying what's right, what's wrong, but take all science and all of it away. How did that person look and feel, and what were their energy, and what, how much had they been ill over them years?
Yeah, how did they treat people? That's what it's all about. I think that's a good barometer of meeting people now in this community. Is they just want to share. They just want to share what's worked for them. And why wouldn't you want to be in a community that is that way inclined? When I find it hard now when you walk in certain places and no one can even lift their head up to acknowledge that you're there, or even say hello. Whereas you want to be engaging, and you realise this is what we need to try and change, is where people that do want to acknowledge each other. Yeah,
probably because we've gone so into his phones, haven't we?
Yeah.
And it's like our consciousness has gone right in there. It's a world. It's another world, isn't it?
It's a drug. It is
a drug.
I found it hard. I fall into that gap of you can get hooked on it.
I'm doing it recently. I'm doing it more now than ever. And I think, oh well, I'm just putting my posts on, and before you know it, you're scrolling and you're like just staring at a screen, aren't you?
Yeah, and I found it hard. It's like the front of my whole head. When I wanted to put it down, it feels like it's not wanting me to, and it's like.
But you feel like you do on the food. You feel rubbish.
Yeah.
You feel crap when you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, I had to practice what I was doing before. I was not having any screen time past 9 o'clock, and my sleep was so much better because you're not seeing blue light, and also writing down stuff because it is like you said it earlier and touched on it. Everything's intention. So if you have intention, like. I'm trying to build this new life of just doing not just podcasting, but all the ideas I want to bring to life. I've found recently is on the morning of it, because there's no structure apart from the podcast. I find myself not really doing out, and it's like I know what I need to do next time. I need to write down a structure for me to attack the day, because I personally need some kind of structure. Otherwise, I don't do out. But no, it's crazy.
I'm good with that. Because I've always worked for myself, so I've never had I've always done my own thing. So I've always been good at, right, this is my morning routine.
Yeah. Well, that's what you need, some kind of routine, don't you?
Yeah.
But not so much that you're not changing. What else would you say? What are your thoughts on rebirths?
What do you mean?
Like, I'd say I've been through a few now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we go through these cycles. I think we'll go through many rebirths in our life, especially following them. I didn't know anything about that Saturn return until somebody said, oh, you'll have been going through your Saturn return.
Yeah.
So I think, we go through these cycles of time. In your lifetime, you'll go through many, many rebirths.
Yeah.
That was a big one for me. In fact, from being 18 and meeting the girls, that was a big rebirth as well. That was massive.
Yeah.
My whole world changed, and then all them years, and then 28, big rebirth. I feel like I'm going through a bit of a rebirth now.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you get to a point where I do at the moment of you've got all these ideas and all these things that you're living by, and then you feel like you're holding on to them and they're the truth. And I feel like I need to let go to let some more new ideas come in. You know, 'cause nothing's absolute truth, is it?
No, nothing is.
And it's always
And you
changing.
always wake me up to that. Because we'll start a conversation, I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's what's good about it. You're having these reflective talks.
Yeah.
Like even sometimes we both bounce off each other, and you get a different way of. We've all got lives, haven't we? That we need to see it through someone else's lenses.
Yeah, it's good to do that, and that's what we're supposed to, aren't we? That's real human connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not being programmed, but human connection is different.
Yeah. When you're on about that with schools and you weren't that bothered about them, the people who are now pulling the kids out of school and homeschooling, they call it de-schooling because they're trying to take it away. Like, I do see a lot of changes in schools, but it's got a far bit off.
I could have done that. I always think I should have done that, but then I'm not very academic, so
no.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. Because I was thinking, why didn't I homeschool them? But it wasn't for me. It'd have probably, again, that structure thing, it'd have probably all just jumbled up to having such a good time and that's it.
Yeah.
And just too free-spirited with nothing, no work getting done and not teaching them anything. Well, yeah, teaching them life skills, but...
Is there any other place where you think that you might head down the holistic route? Is there anything else that's got your attention? Other than touring with Joe Dispenza in a few years.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I don't know, really. I think right now I'm just enjoying my sound healing and my reflexology. I love doing my personal treatments. I think I'll always do them.
Yeah.
But I'm loving doing the group day retreats as well. But yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead yet. Yeah. So
we'll have to. You've got one up in. Where's the 2-day one?
So that's in Malham.
Yeah.
So in Malham, on the solstice it is. Can't believe it. Summer solstice in Malham. We're doing yoga and sound, and then we've got obviously some other little workshops that we're adding in there.
I might have to jump on that.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Up. So you're not going down to, you won't be going to Stonehenge then this year, will you?
No. Well, we booked this retreat, and how amazing that this is the only dates we could do it. And we hadn't thought about it for a month, and then I looked at the dates and I said, Kerry, it actually is the summer solstice.
That's cool, isn't it?
So it's meant to be, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous, and we're going to go down to Janet's Force, have a dip in the waterfall there, so...
Oh, quality.
It'll be great.
Is there any advice that you give to anyone going through a spiritual awakening now?
Hold on. Hold on to yourself. No, I'd always just say, just find some tools that'll allow you to be able to center yourself. It's all about being able to, like, stop yourself being so tense in it and allow yourself to relax. Back to the Silver Method way of when we relax, when we stop, we can think straight. And those brainwave patterns, the information can get through much easier. Because I think if you go so fast into your awakening, and also like not just seeing it from one way.
Yeah.
So seeing, you know, an awakening could be some people are just seeing the truths. What truths are the truth? Do we know if the truth?
Yeah, that's
you get yourself all jumbled up, don't you?
Yeah.
So you can, and also you can start to just see the negatives in the world, and that's dangerous, because I do believe that thoughts create reality. I really do. And I do think we should have these bad thoughts and good thoughts, but, you know, your predominant thoughts. And if you're only seeing all the bad stuff in the world, but you're not dreaming of the new world, how's that coming in?
Well, yeah, well, it's the feedback loop, and then you end up meeting negative people, or you yourself become a negative person.
Yeah.
So everyone, even if they're positive, but they're not into what you're into, and I experienced this, you're then blurting all this negative stuff on them, and they're like, fuck, it's too much, and it's what we put out into the world. It's not exactly what we take on, because we need to become the alchemist. Even if we are taking on negative energies, we need to look at a good way of turning that into a positive, to pour it back out. And that's how we affect the world, in sense, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
That's the only way I see it changing. It is having a way of looking at stuff, like you say, from different angles. That's the way. Is there anything else that you'd want to share?
No, that's it. Yeah, no, it's been lovely. Thank you for having me. No. And you're very good.
Thank you very much.
Loved it. Thank you.
See ya.